The hour is up on us for a notice study session on two great topics. Yeah. Mr. Alman, would you like to introduce the first topic?
Certainly. I'm going to ask Amy Lawrence to help me with this. She's going to be providing a little bit of staff context on the report back from our folks from the Fashion Week and Food and Wine program. Basically, real quickly, why we're here. And then there's also some requests that we wanted to just make you aware of. We'll be back to you later during budget time, but it's an opportunity just to do a quick report in on how things are going. So I'll turn it over to Amy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Amy Lawrence, Economic Development Deputy Director. Today's study session is about Palm Springs Life's Fashion Week and El Paseo and Palm Desert Food and Wine event. It's going to be an event recap, and then we'll go over the sponsorship request. And today we have Frank Jones with Palm Springs Life here to provide a brief presentation. And once he's done, we'll come back to me so that I can go over the sponsorship request.
Super.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and distinguished council staff. So this is typically where we do a very quick recap for you. I know we have a couple new council people since we've done this. So the old council, if you could bear with us, we'll take the new ones through it. Am I changing that? Who's doing this? Are you doing it? Okay, I'm doing it. Okay, great. So we'll go through it, and if you have any questions, we'll try and answer them for you. And then I think Amy's going to give you a little ask at the end of it in terms of what we're doing for the future. So this was our 16th year of Fashion Week, our 11th year of the Palm Desert Food and Wine. So quickly, we'll give you some event highlights. We did 17 total events under the tent. We did 130 events on the street in 28 different retail locations. We had a total attendance of 5,400 plus, and we raised $62,000 for charity. And just quickly on the charity, for those that I haven't said anything to, that's off their own efforts for the events in terms of what they generate in ticket sales. No city monies or other monies from the event go to the charities. It's based on what they earn at the event. These are just comments, and I know you have the kits for these from the ticketed attendees, some of them that we pulled out, only positive ones for your eyes. If you want the negative ones, we'll certainly share those with you. Let's see here. Am I pointing this thing at anything indirectly, or am I just, okay, there we go. Wow. So that was our attendance. Here's where they came from on Fashion Week, about half inside the market, half outside the market. You'll see the composite of how it breaks down, primarily dry market, and then most of our feeder markets that you have direct flights coming in and out of our airport. It pretty much matches that. So that's on the Fashion Week side. Not pretty typical. Did I miss a few things? No. There's a delay on this? Okay. There we go. Who were these people? Okay. Whoa. Okay. I feel like I've missed some stuff, but okay. Yeah, much better with my remote at home on the television, I'll tell you. I'm sorry. Okay, switch. Let's do that. Thank you. Yeah, I don't have to be stubborn. So typically, these demographics pretty much match the convention and visitors demographics for the market in terms of age and our visitor market. So we're matching it pretty consistently. It's nothing of a surprise here. Typically for our events, we do skew higher in the demographic range. So you'll see household income, which skews a little bit higher. And that's what we're aiming for in this event in terms of the people that can spend in terms of our retail locations. So that all makes sense to us and hopefully to you as well. We can move on. Economic impact. So this is going back to 2007, and you see how we've grown the economic impact. What we do is we take a per person ticket number, which is $525 per person, as to what they would spend in the market as a result of their experience with this event. And that could be on retail, restaurants, dining, transportation, et cetera. We get these numbers from the CVB as part of their calculation. This year, we took Modernism Week in Palm Springs because they had a similar ticket price, and it took out all the other stuff that the CVB has and gave us just an event audience. So it gave us a little bit higher number per person. And I think it's more accurate. So we're right in there. The big dip that you see for those council members that haven't been with us is post-COVID. So we're still coming out of a post-COVID response to our event, but that's how we were trending. We could go to the next one. So two things about the event. There's the value of the ticketed attendee, and then there's the value of all the marketing and promotion that go with it. So this is breaking down that marketing and promotion into dollar values and audience reached. And just to recap it, you got about $1.1 million in media. That's how it breaks down across the media platforms, reaching about 93 million impressions. That sounds incredible, but in terms of how digital media and social media work, that's kind of what it looks like in today's thing and how it draws down. So we can quickly go through the next slides there. So this is some of the digital media on various media that we're getting in terms of news releases and those types of things. We can go to the next one. These are print things that we use and other people have given us, and you can see the value there. We can go to the next one. This is collateral. So these are things that are brochures and whatnot that we put on posters and all kinds of things like that. We can go to the next one. Social media, you can see we get a lot of bang for our buck from the designers on this event and the models on this event. I think we'll see in another slide how many models we employ. Those models all have followers on the programs, and they post like crazy. So that's how we calculate all of that. Again, this is more digital in terms of direct outreach to databases that we control. We can go on. And then television, radio, billboards. The billboard is mostly in partnership with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, who's kind enough to give us Los Angeles and San Diego County boards that we buy. So we're grateful for that. Next one. At the end of every event, we survey all ticketed people, and I think we got over 500 responses on that this year. This is a culmination of their response. So 40% of our people were first-year attendees, which is good. You want that healthy thing. And then we have, close to 30% that are 6 years or more. That means we're doing our job. We've got some core people in there that we probably couldn't get rid of. We can move on. Where did they hear about it? That lists our media, gives us a judge in terms of what we're going, how we're spending our resources and time. Next one. And then how do you rate the event? We pretty much divide this into good and above and fair and poor below. We want to keep fair and poor below 5%. For those of you that were with us last year, we were over 10% last year, and our goal was to get us down below that. We achieved it this year. We made a number of changes to it, and so we're trending very, very well there. Next one. Will they attend next year? Again, likely and above is good. Unlikely, we want it 10% or below. A lot of our people that travel here for the event will say they're not coming back because they're not going to be here next year because they're coming from wherever and they're going someplace else. So that's what we get a lot of that of. We can go on to the next one. Recommendation, again, we're getting very favorable results. We want to get that unlikely below 10%. And this is a thing where we ask them what they would like to see that they didn't experience. This doesn't change much, and we normally don't get much information from this. It just gives them a chance to weigh in on what they'd like to see. This is about their overnight stays, who stayed overnight, who did not, and it pretty much tracks with our in and out of market survey. How long did they stay here? You can see the day trippers, the weekenders, and then the longer stay people. I think that when you get into 2 weeks or more, you're probably looking at your snowbird on that one. Next. Yeah, and then you can see if they were here specifically for the event or they attended the event as a result of being here, and so on and so forth. Okay. Did they use the airport? Next one. You like that? Okay. We'll make sure that it's on every page from now on for the rest of our lives. Where do we end up? Okay. Did they dine out? Most of them dined out. How frequently did they dine out? That helps us understand the spend and trend. And then did they shop? Did they make purchases? Again, we're getting very high marks on all of that. And then do you intend attend next year? Again, very high marks on that. And I think that's it. So that's basically the recap on Fashion Week. And I think the biggest thing to note out of that is that there's a lot more satisfaction than we had last year. And what we're looking to do is probably reach more of an out-of-town audience with our media in the future years. So are there any questions on that? Okay.
I have a quick question. On this logo, El Paseo is teeny weeny.
Oh, so that's good. We use it.
No, it's bad.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We use it in different ways and in different sizes. It won't always appear this way. So we were probably, for your purposes, just making a Fashion Week indication, and you kind of know it's El Paseo, but we will adjust it from.
The reason I asked is some of the slides from models and whatnot who are sharing where they were at the teeny weeny version, which means we're not getting as much bang when those shares happen.
So you mean how we get more?
I mean, social media.
Yeah.
In other words, if what they are sharing is this version, we're not getting as much bang.
Yeah, so it's a great question. Yeah, go ahead, Pauline.
From the social media perspective, one of the things that we do is when we are posting across social media, we do use geolocations, and we have a great partnership with Stephanie, and we tag all the posts Shop El Paseo to give people a sense of place, and then that they could also follow through and see the El Paseo account on social media channels. So that's something that our collaboration with her has allowed us to do and execute on our end, and hope that there be shares and regrams from there.
Did you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, good, because
But I
think you have to be 13 to understand it. I don't know, but you know, if you look at all the posts, you'll see that people attack it on from very different ways. But I will say that Palm Desert and El Paseo, it's pretty rare that that messaging doesn't come through in terms of where they are as a destination, right? Not only specifically to El Paseo, but Palm Desert.
You took my point.
I'm going to look
Other questions?
Yes, my
Ma'am?
question is in regards to, again, the same social media. You mentioned that these were the snippets of that you presented are from the models and the designers, but you're saying that the social media value reflects 1.6 million views, but the actual likes on there seem pretty low. I know that the like versus the view is different, but I think it would be impactful to quantify the number of likes that are there. Would it be in our best interest and your best interest
Yeah.
to generate some additional hashtags,
Yeah.
that are a little bit more lively to create that engagement? Or
Yeah.
are there others that have a higher impact?
So, what happens is likes are dependent upon the content that other people are reposting. It's also dependent upon how many followers that person has, right? So we can't control that. We can help them facilitate, which we do. We give them imagery, we give them video, but a lot of these are their own videos and things that they're taking on their own, which is what we want. Your question in terms of media value is very sophisticated, and more people need to ask this question. So we're giving you total impressions. In my mind, working in media, impressions don't mean that much. It is engagement, and that isn't a like. It's also what they do with that like in terms of, are we asking them to do something else transactively, to buy a ticket, shop at a store, take some action? When they're regramming like this that Paulina alluded to, we can't control that part of the ask, but we can do it in our other social media things. So I think what we can include in here is more engagement numbers for you. We have all that, of course. It's important, and you should continue. Anybody that's standing here, you ask that question to them because it's a really good one.
I would also like to see for next year, if you can give the number of times that each hashtag was used. For example, I saw, I'll say a fashion week, or I can't squint and see the other one, but I think that would be very valuable to us to say, these are the 2 hashtags we created.
Yeah.
And this was how many times it was used, because this predominantly seems like it's Instagram, where we know that the target audience tends to be a little bit more of a Facebook audience. So in addition to Instagram, I think it would be valuable to quantify the amount of Facebook and Twitter, for example.
Yeah, so we're using Facebook and Twitter and other platforms. We're just showing you a snapshot. Boy, would we be happy to delve into all of it with you in detail. Yeah, I mean, we have significant audience across all of those. And you're right, Facebook, in terms of the little bit older demographic, has much more traction in this market, but we're just showing you a snapshot here. Yeah.
All right. Thanks again for the presentation, Mr. Jones. It's awesome. It was a great event, I thought. Question, when you go to editorial and public relations, as well as the print advertising section here, most of it or a lot of it appears to be sort of regional outlets. Are we getting any traction, say, in the international, national, like Vogue magazine? Or
Yeah. So Evan, from year to year, it varies. This year, we didn't get picked up by a lot of regional or national media. We have taken our resources out of PR and put it into what we can control, and other things like buying social media and that type of thing, and putting it into those things that we can control and that we can get some transaction value out of that. So we did make a shift in strategy there. It's a kind of a common shift that's going on, but I do think in our partnerships, not only with Stephanie, but the CVB, we could work on our PR and use their leverages to garner some of the more national things that go on like that. But the trend of strategy shift that we did is pretty common. So our goal, particularly in the beginning, is we want transaction. So it's impression, engagement, transaction, meaning we want them to come, show up, and participate with us. Hopefully that makes sense. And in the social world, you need a lot of impressions to get some engagement, to get a little bit of transaction. That's kind of how it works. Yeah.
And I was just going to add, just looking at the chart, 2018 and 19 were blowout years. So that's probably your goal, is to get back to it. So I'm sure you have other ways other than social media for people like myself that a lot of this is going right over my head
Yeah,
in terms of impressions, hashtags.
yeah.
And so I'm sure you have other ways that you're going to get us back to those numbers.
Well, yeah, we hope so. Coming out of COVID, we thought that we were going to rebound a little bit faster. It has been pretty tough. So last year, we still had a lot of people that weren't comfortable in public spaces. We also raised our prices a little bit. So that helped our revenue a little bit. But our attendance was still hovering in just an immediate past COVID level. There's a number of things that we're working on. I don't know how much you want me to delve into it today. We do want to come back and talk to you. I was talking to Amy about this, but we do want to come back and talk to you later in the summer on some of the ideas we have, because they are pretty significant. But it's always having to do with how much money you want to spend for how much bang for the buck you want to get. Yeah. So
Thank you.
What impact, to me, the novice, I see it through my eyes and kind of have my own ideas of what impact not having to flip the tent for the two events, just having one, stopping it, starting the new one. What do you see there?
yeah. So just to bring the new people up to speed, typically we would overlap these events where we would have things going on, food and wine in the day and fashion week at night. And we really split them up this year. It allowed us to kind of take a lot of the pressure off the team that operates the event. And it allowed us to be a little bit more civil with its operations and a little bit more efficient because we were able to save money not having to work around the clock on those turnovers for 2.5 days. We think it was a success because we saved money and we created a better experience for the people that attended those events. And that's part of what drove down our likability, drove down the unlikes and unfavorables. We created a better experience in that way. So I think we're headed in the right direction. However, these two of you, we market these events and operate these events as two separate events. They have two separate budgets, two separate operating things. They often have different teams. They have two separate recaps. You're going to see the next one. They just happen to share this space. So that's how we end up being able to pay for a tent that costs us $300,000 plus to build and operate over an 11-day plus period, 11 days of operation, and then the days on either end for setup and takedown. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
It did very
Yeah.
much. But I have a follow-up, and this kind of to Gina's point where she said, 28, 29, we were like through the roof. Now we had fewer fashion shows.
Yeah.
And my opinion is I thought that was effective. I thought it was impactful having fewer and just some dynamic fashion shows. Because of the fewer fashion shows, do you expect to get back up where you were before, or should we look at it differently?
No, I think you're right. I think there's a sentiment amongst ticket buyers that we were doing too many. So now our job is the best way we can approach this is to do better shows. And that's where we got to work on. And like I said, that's where it costs money to do better shows, better talent. If you just got to pay for it a little bit. So that's what we're working on right now. So we're trying to save money in other areas so that we can improve the quality of our programming.
And so part of my question is, I wonder if you would have had a higher capture rate for attendance if you had more days, but that doesn't necessarily make it a better show.
Yeah, it's been wearing our ticket buyers out, particularly our divas. They are our second biggest sponsor behind the city, and they just come to us and say, "Wow, 9 days, 10 days, whatever we were doing, were worn out, so we did pare it back and they were grateful for that. Even though they got less shows for their money, we raised their price a little bit. So it's a funny thing, but I do think that strategy that I just described is what we're up to. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Let's move on to food and
Okay.
wine.
All right. So again, just event recaps. We did 42 different events that you can see with food and wine. We had 891 people animating those events in terms of what it took to operate it. And we raised $22,000 for charity. One is the James Beard Foundation, and then the other is the Fine Food Bank. So we're pretty excited about that. We can move. These again are the comments from locally and around the country, internationally as well. We can move. Again, who came? What were the numbers? We had 4,000 attendance over the course of, I think it was 4 or 5 days. 4 or 5 days, yeah. And then where did they come from? So we're finding that food and wine is a better draw from out of the area. This has been a consistent trend, and you can see the statistics there. Next. Who are they? And again, they're very similar to Fashion Week. You might get a little bit more in the middle in terms of the demographic age, but again, they match the makeup of this market. And who comes to this market. The economic impact, again, this is a little bit better. And that's because on this event, our attendance is growing. It took a bigger leap, but I want to tell you why it took a better leap, and it has an answer to the thing. Somebody described this event to us this year as the Coachella of chefs. In other words, we had 11 major celebrity chefs at this event. There is no event really that has this many chefs of the celebrity nature in one place for that long of time. And so it's really significant what we've been able to do there, and we've had to invest in that. We could get into the details of that, but it's not for the faint of heart. So I think we want to try and do the same thing on the fashion side. The dynamics of the production of those have different costs and associated with it, but the programming of those celebrity chefs, as you'll find, we can go to the next one and it'll start to explain it. Media more. So this is the same thing. Again, a whole nother set of values, impressions associated with the various media. We can move on and we'll walk through that. Now here we have some more, because of the celebrity chefs, we were able to pick up LA Weekly and some more out of town types of things with the Yahoo on the national level. We can move. We actually do a facilitated buy in the Southern California dry market with some other media companies in San Diego, Orange, and LA County. And then the local printed collateral, including the banners that run on El Paseo. You can see those bottom right. And then just the Instagram, but we can show you the other stuff. And you can see that your celebrity postings are getting many more likes. Why? Because those celebrities have many, many more followers. In fact, this cat, the Australian kid, what's his name? Curtis Stone. He has done such a magnificent job. If you see that cioppino dish there, he posted that about a week ago. He cooked that cioppino dish under the tent for about 150 to 200 people one Saturday night. And he did a sequence of postings of how he created that dish after the fact. He's gotten thousands and thousands of likes and how that works. So hopefully that makes that question a little bit more understood. So we can push on. Again, the digital media and how that plays out, we can push through that. Television, radio, and again, the CVB was working with us on the outdoor, and we used our celebrity chefs out of market to get as much bang as buck as we could. Tyler Florence below that. And then we did our survey results. Again, a good half our people are first timers, which is excellent. Less on the 6 years or more than we do with Fashion Week, a little bit more loyal audience there for fashion. What media did we use and produce the results from? Survey results, again, we're below 10%, we're below 5% on the poor. We want to get good or above, so we're below 10% on those two, which is good. And then the unlikelihood, again, is still a little bit high for us. That should be around 10% or less. What's happening to us there is the Saturday and Sunday ground tastings are crowded. If any of you came, so we have growing pains with this event, and that's something that we can talk about hopefully later in the summer when we're all focused on it. So, but we're getting very good. We're still under 10% in terms of our negative survey rate. Most of it's very positive, upwards 80, 90%, which is great. What would you like to see? Cooking classes, mixology, which is the bartender. So that's well noted and something that we should definitely consider. Overnight stays higher with the food because of the travel that you saw earlier. And then length of stay, again, that 2 to 5 day stay, that's because the travel's higher and that they're picking off this event because they're traveling specifically for this event. And then how they got here and so on and so forth. You can read all this stuff. Next. Did they use the airport slightly more here as well? Next. And then dine out. So even though they're dining out with us, they're still dining out, and which is good for our restaurants and shopping. And then would they come back next year? A good 80% plus. So that's very positive. So again, here's part of our social media focus with this guy's got a tremendous following, and he actually really likes it out here. So that's good. So if there's any questions on this, I can try and answer them for you. So yeah, anything? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, terrific. I'm just curious, with the current footprint that you have at the gardens, you know, under the tent, do you have an estimate of how much more attendance you could handle, either as a percent or sheer numbers?
Yeah, I think
for both events.
Yes, yeah. So with Fashion Week, our attendance is leveled off. With Food and Wine, it's still accelerating. We need more room. We could build another grand tasting tent, and we could probably fill it or make it a more civilized affair where our ratings would be a little bit higher. Those are things that we're working on right now to determine how we would go about that, what the economics look like, how we would program it differently. We don't have all of that together, and that's something that we would probably want to come back and talk to you about in a couple months. And I think we should, because on the West Coast, the LA Food and Wine Festival no longer exists, and the Pebble Beach Festival no longer exists. There's various reasons for that. Tyler Florence, the chef that was out here from San Francisco, said to us, those events don't exist anymore. This is my first time here. I want to get on a conference call with my team and your team and see how we can make this the next Pebble Beach, because it feels like that. It feels like it's emerging based on his experience from that event. So we kind of knew that a year ago, and he confirmed it, not knowing, we didn't tip him off. So we're talking to his team, we're talking to some other teams, but that's really the opportunity with this. This can not only be, a premier event for the city, but it can be a premier event in terms of a destination event for the entire West Coast. We will replace Pebble Beach because it's not here. We already have the chefs and we have that momentum. What we need to work on is our programming and our physical plant to accommodate that. Now, I can tell you that I represented the Pebble Beach Company for over 20 years on various media concerns. I knew their event well. They had 3 independent grand tasting tents. So our grand tasting tents, they had 2 more, right? And it was just a very elevated experience for everybody. So ours is a little more rough and tumble because we put a lot of people through that. So there's a lot of details to that. Hopefully that began to answer your question.
Right, but even if you were, say, to grow to 3, would the gardens be able to accommodate that, do you estimate? Or
So in food and wine, I don't think we can accommodate any more people the way it's set up now. We use every square inch of that. With Fashion Week, we have some room to grow. And we've actually, as you can see in the previous years, we're averaging about 800 people. We've done up to 1,200, 1,300 people in that tent for Fashion Week, depending on the night. So we can grow more on Fashion Week, but food and wine, it's bursting, right? It's the number of people we're putting through there. We don't have enough space. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
You're
And,
welcome.
oh, excuse me, please.
I thank you again. This is very comprehensive and I do greatly appreciate it. I noticed that in the questions, I don't know if it was part of what you asked or only the synopsis, but in saying how many dined out, would it be possible to show us how many dined in Palm Desert instead of just going out and exploring? Because we know the foodies may have headed downtown.
Well, that's right. I forget who just asked us that question. And we said, well, why would we want to just pare it down to Palm Desert? Because they're dining out or shopping anywhere. But we can do that the next time. So obviously this is the second time we've been asked this question in 24 hours. So we need to make that kind of detail on there, I guess.
Yeah, I know that people come to the area and they want to go shopping at Cabazon as well, for example. So in order to differentiate the markets, which leads me to the question of what was your methodology? What was your sample size? Was it randomized email or how did you select the survey participants?
Can you ask? I'm having a hard time here. Am I the only one?
My question is regarding the methodology. What was your sample size? Where did you select them? So we can get an understanding of, was it randomized? How did you achieve these results?
Did you? Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, so every single ticket that is issued is through our ticket platform. And in that ticket platform, everybody is required to submit their email address. That's for ticket processing as well as post-event recapping. And so within 24 hours of the event concluding, we send out an email that lets them know, thank you for coming. And if they complete their survey, they will be automatically entered to win tickets to Fashion Week. We have to go for 2020. We have to give them something to incentivize them. And so our total database was about, I would say about 3,000. And we had a pretty good response. It was up 15%. And we do have a schedule where we do an initial send and then we email them twice. We think the sample size is really good, reflecting the questions and the answers that we received. But all of that, it is done through SurveyMonkey, which is the exporting and importing platform where we pull all the database from.
Wonderful. Thank you. SurveyMonkey is something that is generally accepted. And the last page that we have here is in regards to the after action report, and it deals with our own COPS. Is there anything that will be used to address any future private security issues that happened?
Sorry, I'm not understanding.
So the last page that we have here says the COPS after action report, fashion, food and wine in regarding to who was our citizens on patrol, for example. I don't know if this is something in your report or is this something that's only internal?
I don't believe, I'm sorry if I can jump in. I don't believe that that's something that they provided.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, okay.
Very good, Ms.
Okay.
Lawrence. You have the 2 from the 1-2 punch.
I have one more slide for you. There it is.
Let me just say thank you, and then I'm going to sit down. Thank you so much for your continued support of this event. And I hope we're doing you proud. That's our main
Thank you.
ambition.
Thank you, Frank. So just to finish this off, we will have, this is the 5-year sponsorship for these 2 events expired this year. And the last agreement provided for $200,000 for Fashion Week and $100,000 for Palm Desert Food and Wine annually. And so Palm Springs Life is requesting a new 3-year agreement for the same level of support, and that funding has been included in this upcoming fiscal year budget for council consideration. And so we will speak about it then at study session. And
May I
if
have
you have any questions.
I have a quick question I'd like answered. So you said we had a 5-year sponsorship agreement.
Yes,
Does that include the 2 years? It didn't exist before?
I believe that we actually jumped over those 2 years. So
So we really only satisfied 3 years? We
no, I
had
think it ended up being a 7-year agreement.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what I needed. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Mhm.
Well, fantastic. We will look forward to this issue coming back to council and collaborating with you about your possible visions for bigger and better.
Thank you.
And shall we steam ahead with our second topic?
Absolutely, Mayor. Veronica Chavez and Derek White are here to present our Desert Willow resident program ideas. We recently held 4 input meetings and had well over 100 folks provide input to us regarding just suggestions, concerns that they had with how the resident access primarily was going at Desert Willow. So we're making some suggested revamps to the program, and I'm like Veronica and Derek to sort of take you through that.
Thank you, Todd. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. As Todd mentioned, during the month of March, we held some resident meetings, informational meetings at Desert Willow in response to some concerns we had heard over the year, and asked them to bring their concerns and also some suggestions for solutions. The current programs that are offered at Desert Willow include the Resident Card Program, the Champions Club, and the Platinum Card Program. The Residence Card is a program that we offer to residents at $40, and they get access to the greens for $52 per round. And it is sold to anyone who can confirm that they're a resident, and they have a 3-day booking window. Currently, there are about 2,000 residence cards issued annually. The Champions Club is a program where there are 52 slots and they play for 32 weeks at the cost of $52 a week. It is, I forget what it was called, like league play for them. And they go from October to May. And that program was heavily visited this year. So there were some concerns with that one as well. And then the Platinum Card is a program where cards are offered at a discounted rate to residents, and they gain access to the greens at a discounted rate with a 21-day window. The meetings were very well attended. A copy of staff's presentation is included in the report. During each meeting, staff went through the basic economic factors affecting decisions at Desert Willow. We went through the annual budgets at Desert Willow and how it functions as an enterprise fund. An enterprise fund in its very nature is intended to be self-sustaining. With Desert Willow, the fees collected cover operations. However, the city continues to transfer funds to cover capital improvements. However, necessary to keep the course in its desired condition. As you can see in the slide, we intend to transfer in the current year $3.5 million to cover the course improvements at Firecliff. In doing that, that puts us in a negative deficit. And therefore, on top of that, we do not have the 90-day desired reserve at the end of that period. And so that's one of the things that we are always concerned about, is not being able to have that reserve in case of emergency, in case of economic factors that change annually. So that is something that we do have to take into consideration. Apologize. So any changes to the programs, we would need to remain revenue neutral to the best of our abilities. One of the things that we noticed is that we get comments on the extent of revenues that we've seen in the recent years post-pandemic. And we wanted to additionally talk about the expenditures and how they've been affected post-pandemic. Just like with the city, the costs have increased dramatically. And so the graph at the top just shows how our staffing costs have increased incrementally. And then also, if you look at the bottom left corner, just supplies on their own have increased dramatically in their percentage, but also in their cost, and utilities have increased, services, supplies, just across the board, they have increased. And so that's something that we are constantly considering. If we go back to this last page, you'll see that although the revenues went to $16 million, the expenditures are anticipated to be at $19 million this year. Of course, that includes that transfer, but it's still, there's an incremental growth over those years. So ultimately, staff heard from about 100 resident golfers, both at the meetings and in follow-up emails. Some common themes we heard at each of the meetings were the availability of tee times. From the Platinum Club membership, it was access to the course that kept popping up. On the resident card memberships, it was also access to the course that we kept hearing about. The booking window, it currently is at 12 a.m. And so that was a concern for residents that that's difficult to meet, and they asked us to change that. On the Champions Club membership, they requested additional slots and then also some sort of priority. There was such a turnout this year that there were people who had been tenured players over the last few years that were not able to get in. And so they were asking if there's some way we could prioritize them or open that membership up a little bit. And then one of the resounding themes we heard that we were kind of surprised by was just the willingness to increase the money that they pay for access to the course in exchange to just get on the course. And so following the meetings, staff worked with Kemper staff to analyze the ideas based on fiscal responsibility, the potential opportunity cost, and whether the ideas work in high demand current times or in low demand where recession market conditions. The following recommendations were developed and are intended to achieve a balance between the two and answer the concerns that we got from residents. So as far as the residents card go, we did not recommend any changes there, with the exception of changing the booking window from 12 a.m. to 7 p.m. So essentially they would get 3 days and a quarter to have access to the course or to booking times. On the Champions Club, we are suggesting that we go from 52 players to 72 players and offer an additional 28 slots for backup in case some of the 72 players cannot attend, so that those people can fill in those empty slots. And also increasing their rate from the $52 during the 32 weeks to $65. The initial sale of the membership we thought would be best prioritized by giving those tenured players access on a first right of purchase offer and have a window of how quickly they can access those slots. And then if that did not happen, those would be offered to the next person in line. For the Platinum card, we discussed continuing to offer it at a reduced cost to residents. And of 800 cards that would be offered, we would offer half of them to residents initially by December 1st. So they basically have the first chance to get the cards, and also extend the booking time from 21 days to 60 days. So that makes them even with all the other booking times, advanced times that they can book their windows, and gives them a better access to the course. We also discussed implementing a cancellation fee for those that didn't show up in order to discourage those sorts of things. All in all of them will have access to the new booking time. The only other recommendation we had was that we have the opportunity to assess how these changes affect the course and be able to come back next year and make any other additional adjustments if they're needed. That is my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, and Derek is here as well.
I was going to comment mainly to say, thank you so much, Derek and staff and Todd, for taking the lead on this. Since I've been, I want to say since 2016, dealing with resident golfers, and it's been such a challenge to deal with. And it seems like finally our staff and under our leadership of Todd Heilman here, we've come up with, it looks like what to be a good staff recommendation. And Derek, thank you as well. Those are just my comments.
Questions?
Yeah, I want to echo Gina's comment. You guys responded quickly and it was really good feedback, and it was really neat to go outside the scope of the usual suspects to get a lot of more feedback there. That was really clever work there, and good work. So just a couple of questions on the numbers. The resident card play will remain $50 per outing. Are we also, outside of all the city program, just to regular play, are we considering raising traditional green fees?
I'll let Derek speak to that.
That one's on me. Absolutely. And we've been raising prices. We offer dynamic pricing at Desert Willow. And so as demand has grown, so has the average, rate or the charge that we produce out there. So we're constantly increasing green fees, if not daily, hourly. We're making changes as we see fit.
Cool. And was there any?
So that's clear. The rate fluctuates in response to demand. So it's not a constant price. It's responsive. And the more people who want to play, the higher the price.
So it's dynamic based on demand. Got it. And was there any consideration given to raising that $50 per outing for residents? In other words, was the idea broached, or was there resistance to it, or was that considered? And that might be not.
There really wasn't much thought given to it. I think the big folks really wanted access to the course. I think we probably could have pushed the $52. We chose not to. We chose to leave it in place with 3-day booking window and let them attempt to make their tee times a little bit earlier. We're hoping that the Platinum Club changes, the increased access, not only helps those folks who were pretty upset that they paid to buy that card and couldn't get on the course, but we're hoping that sort of serves as a pressure relief valve. It's been an unusual last couple of years for Desert Willow. Even with the dynamic pricing, the tee times have been sold out fast. We do have a few golfers we learned that have gotten very astute at pulling up the app and kind of waiting every 5 minutes. Not many people have that much time on their hands to do it. So we are thinking that, and they're taking those $52 tee times. So we're hoping that some of these changes we're making give people more access to the course and also help those folks that are looking to, ones and twos out on the course to get those $52 tee times a little bit easier as well, if we can relieve some of that pressure.
And just to give some additional background, for non-golfers, 4 people, a foursome can use a single tee time. So if 3 people who are acquainted book a tee time, it's very, very hard to fill out that 4th slot. So this bargain 52 rate in the last 3 days is really a way to entice some residents to fill that single spot that's so hard to fill. So we're rewarding the residents who are willing to pick up those unwanted slots.
Perfect. Well, I am indeed a non-golfer. So
And they
thank you.
can make some new friends that way too,
Yes,
right?
That's right. And I do actually have just a couple more quick questions. The Champions Club, the 28 people, remind me, I'm sorry if you mentioned earlier, but does the Champions Club have a fee to participate? Okay, it's not just you get on and on the list or whatever.
Yes, it does carry a $299 fee to participate. And then it does have a few other benefits, including like half off range access, I think there's some pro shop discounts, some discounts in the restaurant. So there's some other things that are attached to that club as well.
Okay, so will the 28 people on the wait list pay the same fee and just?
Yes, I think more of the thought is that we need those 100 full spots to make sure that we fill the 72 every week.
Gotcha.
It's not intended that, you know, those 28 folks are going to pay full boat and then hardly ever see the access.
Got it. So we're going to sell 100 this year at the full rate of $299
Yes.
instead of, okay, that's perfect.
Yep.
And the Platinum Club, if our local residents don't use up all 400 slots that are available by December 1st, they go back on the open market.
That's the concept. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey. Yes.
Thank you. I do want to commend the approach we took to listening to the people because it was very inclusive. We heard different voices, and I think we got really good feedback by doing it in that fashion. How far out can a non-resident book tea times? Do we have, what's that?
Yes. So if you're just going to book straight through the website, you know, wide open, non-resident pricing, it is a 60-day booking window.
Okay.
That's the concept, is making this equitable for anybody, even the Platinum Card folks.
Okay. And I just have another question. When you talked about the $65 over 32 weeks, did I understand that correctly?
It's $65 per time they play. So it's $65 each week that they play.
Okay.
Am I understanding your question?
Well, I thought I heard something about 32 weeks.
So
over
it's a
30
32-week season, roughly runs from
Okay.
October and through
Okay.
May. That's the 32 weeks.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, great job on this. And it really is, took a lot into consideration and listened to a lot of people who had not been heard before. So thank you.
All right. Looks like that's all the questions for now. This will be on the action agenda if you think of any others. Looks like our closed session was noticed for 3:30. So I assume, Mr. Clerk, we cannot jump the gun.
That is correct.
Okay, so you are free to move about the cabin. Please come back for briefly to open the council meetings at 3:30.